make 2 creatures. Or make a creature and pump the team. Versatile.
So many options. All right. We're underway here. Looks like Chris on a 6. And Logan on step 7. Fetch land starting for Andersen.
Looking like a lot of lands in the grip for Andersen.
He does have some of the token elements. We see Hordling Outburst in the grip. Looks like he has a kill spell as well, but may not have too many of those early game cards.
Yeah, that Outburst was off the top this turn. That was a good draw. Give him some action on turn 3.
When you look at Red-Black Dragons, or at least Chris's build of it, he doesn't have that low-end element to it. Sometimes you see these hybrid decks where they'll have maybe 1 or 2 5-drops, but then also have Zergos or Abbots at the low end. Chris is definitely on the bigger end of things. Flamewake Phoenix, Thunderbreak Regent, Kolagon, the Storm's Fury.
I like it a lot. Just haymakers that are difficult to answer and that will win the game if unanswered.
Players just trading lands at this point. Nobody has anything for turn 3, so it looks like Chris's Hordling Outburst may be what we start the game on.
Yep, looks likely. Shortcutting some fetch lands here. Nice time-saving technique.
Emo's return to Ravnica basics here.
It's an endearing choice. Not what I'd go with, but you like what you like.
Well, I never understood how that's a mountain. You know, that seems like a very liberal interpretation of mountain.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, these buildings are very tall. They must make red mana.
They're very red as well.
Yeah, they're skyscrapers. I don't know about that one.
Maybe it's on top of a mountain.
Okay. They built there's enough city on Ravnica that we're building cities on top of mountains now.
It's all city. I can't imagine the terrain is just level all across the planet.
All right, so for Chris, it's going to be a fetch for Smoldering Marsh.
Yeah.
And now that Hordling Outburst.
It's a nice thing about the Red-Black Dragons as well. Mana base, very easy to navigate. Don't have to worry about finding the wrong land here.
There isn't even something like Painful Truths in the deck that he's getting a 3rd color for. It is just 2 colors. You just have 2 copies of Haven of the Spirit Dragon for colorless mana. Now for Logan, this is going to be one of our first glances at Nissa, Voice of Zendikar. So that's his first play. 3-mana Planeswalker has some power. I mean, at that rate, you already have to wonder if it's going to be playable. Its first ability, +1, puts a 0/1 plant creature onto the battlefield. Now, its other abilities are, to me, really what shine in a token strategy. -2, it puts a 1/1 counter on each of your creatures, kind of reminiscent of a Johnny Goldmane. And then that ultimate, I don't expect to see Logan use it very much in this deck, but if he wants to, it would be gaining life and drawing cards, where that's the number of lands you control.
Yep, pretty powerful. Nissa would be a lot better on the play than the draw here, that is for sure. Being behind the Hordling Outburst here is not looking great for the card, though it's a fine way to start the game. It is staying in play through this attack anyway.
So the Goblins will knock the Nissa down to 2, taking care of a plant on the way. Yeah, this attack does stop Logan from being able to, say, make more tokens and then -2 the Nissa immediately.
Mm-hmm. Unlikely that Logan is going to have a board making it worth actually just doing the -2 on his next turn. So that pressure there looks pretty relevant.
And, you know, you'd think it's Logan that's playing the tokens deck, but Chris is doing a fine job of it himself.
Yeah, I thought this was called Dragons. I feel a little cheated.
Pion Kiron Nalar is the play. So 6 creatures in 2 turns for Chris. And this will put Logan to the test. He's supposed to be the tokens deck, and as such, he doesn't actually have very many answers to tokens himself, outside of, you know, setting up a large trade of tokens for different tokens.
And Logan really doesn't have any cards until the late game that actually generate as many tokens as Hordling Outburst does just on turn 3. His tokens will inevitably be larger, but they are certainly slower.
Yeah, and this draw is going to be excellent against something like the Reflector Mage we were talking about. I mean, there's nothing on Chris's board that you'd want a Reflector Mage here.
No. Bouncing PN Kieran, even though they can't play it next turn, when they do play it, there's 2 more Thopters. And all the tokens they're just tokens. They're just 1/1s.
You can get one of them, and you have a nice Spark Mage Apprentice then.
Yeah, they're gone forever, but Chris isn't going to miss them.
Nissa will make a plant. She'll be joined by Gideon.
So this is a curve that is pretty backbreakingly powerful on the play. It's looking quite behind on the draw.
Yeah, this is really a night and day of being on the play and draw. You know, on the play, Logan gets a plant, Chris makes an outburst, Logan makes a second plant, makes an ally. This is just a different game. Go back to Andersen's draw was Duress. 2 copies in the main of that.
Yep.
And you'll see what's going on here on Logan's side. So Duress sees Silk Wrap, Secure the Waste, second Silk Wrap, Wingmate Rock, and a fetch land.
Gotta imagine that Secure the Waste is gonna be biting it here. That is by far the best card, and actually a card that threatens to put Logan relevantly in this game. Silk Wrap, not so much.
Yeah, Silk Wrap, very few things. I guess in Chris's deck, he does have good targets for it. He plays Hangerback Walker and Flamewake Phoenix, but with neither of them in play, he can just leave those in Logan's hand. He does take the Secure.
Best target here is a Thopter. It's not where you want to be.
We'll see how Chris wants to follow up. He could take down either of the Planeswalkers, but not both.
Have to imagine that if you're going to gun for one, you're going to gun for Gideon. I think we're far enough away from actually closing the game that pressuring Gideon here is the optimal play.
Can't say I disagree. Gideon's creatures so much, 2/2s versus 0/1s.
I think what Andersen might be thinking about is whether or not just to throw a Thopter at the ally before damage. It's gonna be a problem in play no matter what. And if you kill Gideon, there won't be a replacement for it next turn. The Wingmate Rock with the plant is problematic, though.
Yeah, it does mean Logan can attack with the plant and raid that Wingmate Rock.
Despite having 0 power, it can attack.
Well, here's a swing. We'll see just how Chris decided to divvy it up. Looks like the entire attack was at Gideon, so Logan will take his free Goblin.
Yep, no reason to make any other blocks. You won't save Gideon, and you want that plat token for that Wingmate Rock anyway.
Yeah, it's interesting. Chris had to make a decision as to whether or not he wanted to let the Wingmate Rock get raided or let one of these Planeswalkers survive at 1. So the Goblin will go down. Gideon will hit the graveyard.
So those Planeswalkers weren't quite up to snuff in this game, but Wingmate Rock actually looks like it's going to matter a lot.
Yeah, but Logan has a great shot here. Now, not really as a tokens deck, but just as a
deck playing Wingmate Rock. That's not a bad place to be.
Draw looks to be another Silk Wrap for Logan. This is... That's all 3.
Yeah, that's not ideal. Yeah, eventually Chris will draw a Hangerback Walker, right?
And when he does, boy, will Logan be ready. All right, Logan's going to go to attacks. Chris throws a Thopter at the ally. So just the plant. It will swing, though. And here come a pair of birds. And now it'll be on Chris to see if he has a kill spell for these 3/4s.
We haven't seen any dragons yet, but I am fond of the addition of the birds to the battlefield. It's a little excitement.
It's still banned tokens, right? There's a Wingmate Rock token.
Yeah.
Okay. This works.
It's a good token, too.
It's a great token.
It's better
than that plant.
It's significantly better than the plant. It attacks with numbers on the front side.
And Logan going to go ahead and -2 the Nissa to make all the creatures larger here.
Like that activation a lot. Additional plants not doing anything. Now the plant can profitably block the Goblin tokens.
Yeah, upgrading that 0/1 to a 1/2 seems really important on this board.
Yeah. Makes the issue even more complicated in terms of the Wingmate Rock and the token.
So when we look at the removal suite for Chris, he's going to have to deal with 8 power in the air. We see Draconic Roar, Fiery Impulse, Grasp of Darkness, Kolaghan's Command. It's just going to be Murderous Cut that can take this down.
Not a great spot to be in. Wingmate Rock is just a difficult card for a lot of decks to deal with. Shy of the planar outbursts that we saw in round 1.
Well, what I like about the -2 on the Nissa is Chris does play cards like Thunderbreak Regent, Grasp of Darkness, things that can interact favorably with a 3/4, but a 4/5 is a different story.
It's huge. There's a reason that Siege Rhino is so good. Being a 4/5 is one of them.
And here it is, Thunderbreak Regent. Chris is going to swing. Logan takes the free block on Pia and Kieran, and then Chris will play Thunderbreak Regent and Draconic Roar. So the 3 damage will finish off the bird token and will take care of the Nissa.
It's a good exchange. There's a reason that Logan blocked with the token over the Wingmate Rock proper. The Wingmate Rock has the potential to gain life, kind of minor. And that exchange, getting that Planeswalker to the table is definitely important for Chris.
And now we wait it out. Neither player can profitably attack on this board.
And the Silk Wraps don't help.
Stasis Snare does. Stasis Snare is great, though. That'll take care of the Thunderbreak Regent. And now with a 1-2 back on defense, I think it's bird time.
It's got to be. The question is whether or not you Silk Wrap the token. May as well, right? You have 3 of them. They're not doing anything.
So you're going to Silk Wrap away the Thopter. Yeah, the odds that Chris is going to draw 3 quality threats for those Silk Wraps before the game is over is just...
Yeah, I like the attack with the rock here. Not in love with the plant attack.
Yeah, and that seems like it might have been an oversight on Logan's side. The plant will trade with 1 Goblin token. Chris will take 4 off the Wingmate, and Logan will gain 2. But now here comes the Goblin back.
Yeah, and Chris could not have blocked faster. That was pretty cut and dry on the block there. Of course, now we have a Silk Wrap for that other Goblin token.
Oh boy, we're just embarrassment of riches here. Look at all these Silk Wraps.
Logan saying, I can do this all day.
So wraps away the other token. Here comes Wingmate Rock for 4 more. Chris down to 8. We have another draw. It's Thunderbreak Regent. That 1-1 counter just working here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that minus on the Nissa was great, especially in the face of the fact that the Draconic Roar took it down next turn.
Another swing from Logan. Chris down to 4. It's going to be, now the board is lethal.
So Chris really just wants to find something else that flies. And something that does not die to Silk Wrap.
And it's going to be Retreat to Emeria from Logan Bunner.
That's solid. Oh, there's the Hangerback Walker.
There's the Hangerback Walker from Chris. He's going to tap out for it on 6, but we know Logan in waiting has the 3rd Silk Wrap. So Retreat to Emeria, that's an interesting one here. One that if Logan needed to push some extra points of damage across at the end of the game would really help him here. That first landfall ability of making a 1-1 each turn is very relevant. And then the second one, when he has tokens in play, also good.
Definitely. Very powerful card. Deceptively powerful card. Yeah, it looks like it came out of a draft deck, right? But Sam Black said a lot of good things about it when he initially played this plant tokens deck, and I'm inclined to believe that it's a really good way to support your Gideon, and certainly your Nissa, right? Those 0-1 tokens don't attack on their own.
This one's like going to be about over here. Thunderbreak Regent had to jump in front of the bird. It hit the bin. Yeah. The Hangerback wrapped up in silk. A Nissa from Logan.
Chris with the land in hand plus his draw step.
Draws the kill spell to cut down the Wingmate Rock.
Keeps him in the game for a second, though. Not exactly on time with that one.
Plants and Retreat to Emeria with Nissa. There's too much token making and pumping on Logan's side to think that Chris can stabilize at 4 here.
Logan drew a Reflector Mage here. This is not the best board for it. Wonder if we'll see him just cast it. Yep, may as well, right?
Yeah, as a 2-3. Pump both creatures. Now the plants as a 1-2. Reflector Mage a 3-4.
Yep, Reflector Mage now lethal on its own. And there's multiple ways to amp them next turn so that the Reflector Mage can attack through a Thunderbreak Regent.
Yeah, it's got Chris down to 3. Not to mention it's hard for Logan to brick on a draw here. Even lands are good for him at this point.
Yep.
And see Chris scoop it up. So game 1 over to Logan, Bunner, and Bant tokens.
Yeah, so Nissa did not look great on turn 3 there, which is kind of weird for a 3-man Planeswalker, but ended up being super relevant in the game on the whole.
Yeah, it was. I mean, and a lot of that might just be how it matches up with Hordling Outburst. When Chris had the turn 3 Hordling Outburst to Logan's turn 3 Nissa, you felt like Nissa was on the wrong side of it, but it did scale better into the late game by a lot.
Absolutely. That's kind of the thing about Planeswalkers, and kind of the thing about red cards.
All right, let's go ahead and look at the sideboards then. We'll start with Chris Andersen. Read the Bones, Sarkhan the Dragon Speaker, Foul Tongue Invocation, Transgress the Mind, Duress, Roast, Kalitas, Kozilek's Return, and Outpost Siege. Now, he's probably aware that he's playing against a significant tokens deck, so the first card I'm going to look at is something like Kozilek's Return. Yeah,
it's a sweeper here, which is solid. You have to imagine he's not super happy having Hordling Outburst in his deck anymore, so that exchange seems pretty straightforward. The discard spell is also quite good. We've seen Gideon, we've seen Retreat to Emeria, we've seen Nissa. Those are all good hits. I think at this point we're assuming a controlling role, so the Read the Bones and possibly even the Outpost Siege will help us hammer that position.
Yeah, you may even think something like Transgress the Mind. There were some high-end cards. I mean, he did just lose a game to a Wingmate Rock.
Getting that is going to be huge.
All right, on Logan's side, he also has the option to go to more controlling routes. He has Dragonlord Ojutai, Planar Outburst, Negate, Andersen Cleric, Sylvan Advocate, Dispel, Disdainful Stroke, Hallowed Moonlight, and then one I like here, 2 Surge of Righteousness.
Surge of Righteousness, definitely strong. The other card that I like here, Disdainful Stroke. Disdainful Stroke counters basically all of the good cards that Chris played in Game 1. So I like bringing that in. Dispel, not so much. Sylvan Advocate seems kind of medium. Chris is playing a red-black deck, so the Andersen Cleric, it matches up against the Hordeling Outburst. We don't necessarily know if those are coming in or out, so it's fine. But mostly the Surge of Righteousness and the Disdainful Stroke I like here.
Anyway, so Logan banned tokens. He's up 1-0 on Chris Andersen. We'll have Game 2 momentarily. One thing, as we enter Season 1, we'll go back to the Season 4 Invitational with Caleb Schur. He was the victorious at the Invitational, running the table from round 4 on to go ahead and take it down, and as a result, he got his likeness on a card. That is a Storm counter. That one's available to you from now for all of Season 1. You can get it by participating in any of our Opens or Classics. It's illustrated by Star City's Kristen Plesko, and this will be also, if you can't make it out to one of the Opens, it'll also be given away for any online order of $5 or more. So you can pick that up at starcitygames.com.
Yeah, really awesome art on that. Really creative choice by Caleb. Like that token a lot.
Well, I don't know if there's any creature token. I mean, he could do goblin tokens for Empty the Warrens, I suppose, and that's
been done.
Yeah, but you're right. But you'd have to kind of put a clause on it to say that these goblins are for comboing people, right?
Sure, they can only come in 2s.
Right. You'd have an art where they're I don't know, somehow come in 2s.
A pair of goblins.
Pair of goblins. It feels to me, though, after looking at Game 1, that Chris is a bit of an archetype disadvantage here. One of the advantages to red-black dragons, or to sum up its game plan, it's going to try to kill your creatures early and then win with haymakers late. Now, one of my concerns here is that all these removal spells that Chris has, stuff like Draconic Roar, Fiery Impulse, Grasp of Darkness, I'm not convinced those are going to be good against a token strategy.
Yeah, the only one that really has the opportunity to shine is Draconic Roar. Like we saw in Game 1, it can deal with part of a creature or an entire creature and actually pressure a Planeswalker, so that is relevant. But even then, you kind of have to have a good spot.
Yeah, if Logan just plays his game plan and lands enough threats, it seems tough that Chris will actually be able to answer them all.
Mm-hmm. And unless you just can't raid for whatever reason, I'd rather be casting Windgate Rock than Thunderbreak Region.
Yeah, I can definitely get behind that one.
I'd take Windgate Rock over Clogan the Storm's Fury a lot of times too. Pia and Kira is a closer comparison. You know, costing 4 is relevant. It adds a lot of value, a lot of reach.
Pia and Kira's interesting. There does seem to be some difficulty, though, of Chris's ability to actually deal damage here.
Mm-hmm. Which is an odd thing to say about a red-black deck. That's all they do.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that they do.
Well, they kill things.
Kill things and burn faces.
And we are underway. Chris, this time, he's on a 7. It's Logan that's on the 6-card hand.
Seems to be some kind of judge call here.
I think it... Yeah, we'll come back to Booth while we figure out the judge call here. Let's get Matthias Hunt and Ryan Overturf. Beginning of Game 2 here for Chris Andersen. He's going to try to battle back down a game against Logan Bunner with red-black dragons.
What we know so far is that Chris has a turn 1 duress.
Chris has... Yeah, so
That's
Chris
a good
does
start.
have a turn 1 duress. Which seems to be pretty live, actually, against the tokens deck. It's mostly, despite the fact that it's a creature deck, it is mostly creature spells. You know, Retreat to Emiria, Secure the Waste, Nissa, Gideon. It should be pretty live here.
Definitely. Oh, picking a Nissa out of the opening hand seems great. There's probably some hands that are keepable just because you have Nissa.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I'm noticing about both these decks is neither of them actually does too much with the early turn. So you think about early game threats from Bant. Okay, they both, I guess both of them have hangerback walkers, but outside of that, there's not too much going on. You know, maybe Hordeling Outbursts from Chris on turn 3, maybe a Nissa from Logan, but that's about it.
Yep, not a whole lot going on in the early game. That's why I don't necessarily think that I would cast the Duress on turn 1. I think the major consideration there is Nissa.
Is that if you could fetch and get a fetch land for a tap land, maybe we can Duress on turn 2 just as easily, and then we get an extra card.
Yeah, you know, let him draw a couple more cards. If he draws into a spell that was better than the spells in his opening hand, that's a better position.
Yeah, it's certainly one of the things with those 1-mana discard spells of deciding whether you want to turn 1 or turn 2 them. I mean, if Chris has no hangerback in his hand, that seems pretty reasonable.
But if Chris has plans for his mana turns 1 through 3, then this duress is like pretty unquestionably good on turn 1.
Yeah, and you want to get it out there before you. Yeah, if the choice is between turn 1 and turn 4.
Yeah,
then
that's
it's
tough.
1. It's
You've
1.
already missed Nissa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So interesting. We'll get the call on that one in a second. So you were talking to me that this is based off a Sam Black Pro Tour deck.
Yes.
Okay, and this was also Bant tokens.
Yes. Yeah, Bant splashing blue for counter spells on the sideboard, I believe. Maybe like a 1 main deck dispel, something close to that.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, Sam has he has written about that deck as well. Now, we haven't really seen much of it after Battle for Zendikar.
No, it just disappeared. It just disappeared immediately.
Yeah,
it's one of those Pro Tour decks. They do
right?
that sometimes. I think he won 8-2 at the Pro Tour, which is a very impressive record, and then nobody cared.
Yeah, you do see that from time to time. You know, I believe, was it Red White Heroic was a big deck at one of the Pro Tours in the last year as well, and just no one played it afterward. And that is, I think my take on that is that sometimes there are decks that Pro Tour that are developed because they're very good decks. In the abstract, and some of them are very good for that tournament. Certainly, it's a field where you can metagame it. Now, as your take, there's no Bant tokens. It's more of a metagame deck, or do you feel like this is actually just a really strong thing that we can be doing?
Sam's position, and I think I agree. I'll say this having never played the deck. I think it's just very strong.
Okay.
You saw that game 1, he just overpowered the red-black deck, which is just trying to be a deck that does very strong things. You know, if we're out-muscling the decks that are doing good things, probably means we're doing good things.
Yeah. I can go behind that. Retreat to Mare is a really interesting card. It's not efficient, but it certainly is powerful.
No, it's very far from efficient, and that's why it probably hasn't seen a lot of constructive play. You know, on paper, you see 4 Retreat to Mare, maybe you think, oh, that's Sam Black's up to his nonsense again. But, you know, here we see Logan giving it a try, and he's at least 1 run round.
Yeah, I mean, Nissa seems like just such an excellent addition to the deck, though.
Oh, yeah. Big upgrade.
Big upgrade. The fact that we have this, I do see that it could be a little hard to cast. To that point, he does have Oath of Nissa in the deck, which actually helps cast Nissa in the deck,
Surprise.
Which is pretty interesting. Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
They're good with each other.
Yeah. Finds Nissa, fixes the mana a little bit.
Yeah, those Oath of Nissa, kind of dubbed the Green Ponder, maybe when it came out. That to me is a little generous. More like, maybe we could say like the Green Sleight of Hand. Yeah, that's closer.
It's closer. I think this card's better than Sleight of Hand.
It's probably better than Sleight of Hand.
You wouldn't play it in a Storm deck, per se, but for what it does.
Yeah, so it gets you one of the top 3 cards, provided that card is you know, a creature or land. And then it also has that second ability, which matters here, that you can use any color of mana to cast your Planeswalkers. And Nissa being double green is certainly not a free roll in this deck.
Yeah, and curving double green into double white, turn 3 into turn 4 with a battle fetch mana base.
It can be hard, yeah.
This way you can just play 3 planes in a row and it doesn't matter.
Which I think the deck's actually interested in playing 3 planes in a row in a lot of situations. It does have cards like Quarantine Field, Wingmate Rock, Gideon, Stasis Snare. It has a lot of demands for white mana.
And I just double checked here. The deck plays exactly 3 planes. I think I'm onto something.
So we can go ahead and curve into that. That would be excellent. We are still waiting on a judge call. We'll bring you back to the match as soon as we can here. This is between Chris Andersen and Logan Bunner. We did say, yeah, Chris losing the first game there. Now, he actually had the better start in that game, which is kind of one of the more interesting parts of it. I start out with a turn 3 Hurling Outburst, and turn 4 Pia and Kieran Nalar. To me, what it comes down to is there was just a Wingmate Rock there, but certainly wasn't the way I expected the game to play out, with Chris being the aggressive role.
No, and you have to wonder if there's any card besides Wingmate Rock that Logan could have reasonably had that actually would have mattered anywhere near that much.
I mean, yeah, his haymakers are Thunderbreak Regent, Kolaghan, the Storm's Fury.
Yep, those are quite strong, and they just go over the top of everything that's not Wingmate Rock in this deck. The only thing you can reasonably do is play Reflector Mage.
Sure, but you don't. You can bounce the token.
Yeah,
but that's not great.
I mean, for Logan.
Oh, for Logan.
If he doesn't draw a Wingmate Rock,
sure.
Like what is he doing? Bouncing a Thunderbreak Regent. You take 3 just on the resolution there, which is not great. It's off the table for a turn, but we saw Chris had multiple Thunderbreak Regents in that game. The only reason he gave up the first one was to trade with the token with the Draconic Roar.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, he does. If Logan doesn't have the Wingmate Rock, he's also not very able to defend his Planeswalkers there. He had a Gideon and Nissa going, but wasn't really able to defend them from the 6 creatures that Chris was presenting.
And it was a collection of everything that he did draw, right? That Wingmate Rock is not rated without the plant token, but the plant token does a lot less on its own than the Wingmate Rock does.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Totally agree there. So we have seen, what is it? Thunderbreak Region to me is a really interesting card. He seems to go in and out of the metagame. It certainly on paper is an excellent card. I can't help but feel every time I watch games with Thunderbreak Region that I'm not... He always seems like he's on the lining up on the wrong end of things right now.
It's wild, right? Because when this card was spoiled, I thought that is one of the most insane rates for a red creature I've seen in my life.
I mean, because it is. You know, you absolutely. It's a 4/4 flyer for 4 with a great upside in a set where you had cards like Haven of the Spirit Dragon as well.
Mm-hmm. But then you're exactly right. Just with the cards that people are playing and maybe just with the power level of Standard at large, it has not done what I think most people have expected it to do. It sees occasional top 8s, that is for sure, but it's never been the deck.
Yeah, well, I mean, and a lot of people said, okay, hey, maybe it's Siege Rhino keeping it down, right? There's this great 4/5 that everyone's playing, but Siege Rhino is really at a low right now. I don't see too many Siege Rhinos at tables, and it's not like Thunderbreak is coming back in the metagame just because of that.
Mm-hmm. It kind of is, a top 8 of week 1, and we don't know exactly where we're going week 2. Maybe Logan's going to win the tournament.
All right,
or rather, Chris.
Back to the match. So Duress is going to resolve here. We're going to look at Logan's hand. So we see a Surge of Righteousness, a Treasure Cruise. We have a trio of lands. I believe we have an Oath of Nissa.
I think it was actually 4 lands.
Looks like Logan on a mulligan here.
Mm-hmm.
And he'll play a land and pass. Chris flush with early removal again. You see a second Duress here.
Yeah, and I don't think I'm seeing a third land out of Chris. That kind of mana pressure definitely justifies the early Duresses.
Yeah, he has that early Grasp of Darkness and Duress, but he'll go with another Duress. Take a look. Still that Surge and Treasure Cruise. Looks like he's picked up another Treasure Cruise, 2 more lands. So the danger here is that second Treasure Cruise seems like a huge draw for Logan. If we're going to Duress and have fetch lands in play, Chris can't keep him off it, and he might need some turns.
Yeah, picking a Duress here, or picking a Treasure Cruise here only makes the other Treasure Cruise better, so that's really awkward. That said, you really want to end up in a situation where you take both the Treasure Cruises, right? But I think that neither is the second best option.
Yeah, so this locks Chris into an aggressive play. He's going to go ahead and take the Surge of Righteousness, leaving Logan with just fetch lands and Treasure Cruises. We pass back to Logan. You're right, though. Big turn for Chris. He does not have land 3 as of yet.
There it is.
And what a land it is. It's a red mana, so that will activate the Flamewake Phoenix in his hand, and he will get the first points of damage in, putting Logan down to 18.
We did it.
Logan doesn't know it, but that was a big turn for Chris.
It was, and there's a Pia and Kieran looting in Chris's hand. It's just another land is exactly what he wants. It's preferably a swamp or a smoldering marsh to turn on that Grasp of Darkness.
Fetch from Logan. Building his way toward Treasure Cruise. He had all of his early plays taken there. Oath of Nissa and Surge of Righteousness. But if this game goes late, you expect his card advantage to carry the day. Draw from Logan was Wingmate Rock. So he'll play a land and ship back over to Chris.
Wingmate Rock is looking a lot less impressive here than it did in game 1.
Well, yeah, he has none of that early. I feel like he was counting on that Oath of Nissa to help him out.
Definitely.
But an opportunity for Logan. Chris's draw was a copy of Sarkhan, so no land, no play. He'll pass. Chris's whole hand uncastable right now. Outside of, well, he has a Draconic Roar. I guess he can still cast that.
Yes. At this point in time, I recommend not casting it. Perhaps Logan will present a threat.
It's telling that Draconic Roar is still in the deck. You mentioned it's still fine here because of the ability to hit Planeswalkers. But, against a tokens deck, this card has to do a lot of work before it becomes good.
Definitely. It helps you close the game fast, and perhaps Chris's concern is because of that Wingmate Rock and how effective it was in the late game. Maybe he thinks he just has to get in fast. Maybe the chip shots are what he thinks matters.
Logan down to 13. Let's see if he has to play it. He's a fetch there for Canopy Vista.
The 3-color mana base seems to be working a bit better than the 2-color at this point.
Well, that's the setup, right? You start out with 2 basics, and then your fetch lands. Once you have your 2 basics in play, then it's kind of a free roll on colors from there on out.
Yep, you're pretty golden.
And Logan will have a play, and that's the treasure cruise he was building toward. He'll redraw, hits an island to secure the waste, and another fetch land.
At least it was 2 lands. Chris can't be happy that the game is in this phase and all he's doing is attacking for 2. But, oh, there's a swamp. Perfect.
Yeah. So, swamp will play. Fleamwake Phoenix will put Logan down to 11. And just as Logan turned the corner, it looks like Chris can do the same thing. And that is Pia and Kieran Nalaar. 4 more power into play, and that's going to be a 2-turn clock presented for Logan.
Yeah, and at this point, I'm not even sure that Logan has a better play than just playing a 3-4 Wingmate Rock.
Yeah, he drew a second copy of Wingmate Rock here, too. Now, the danger, you mentioned it before, that second black mana mattered that it was a swamp because Chris does have that Grasp of Darkness in hand.
Yeah, that was a huge draw. And if the Wingmate Rock is the play, well, it's dead, and here comes 6 damage. You're at 5 against 4 creatures, one of them being able to generate shocks.
And that's going to be Logan's play. He'll just play out the 3-4.
Another land.
Big draw from Chris. It's a land. Now has the option between Grasp of Darkness and just Sarkhan.
It's got to be Sarkhan, right?
Looks like it is going to be Sarkhan. Here's the Dragon Speaker. It comes into play. He can deal 4 damage to a creature. That seems like an excellent target. Bird down, attack in. Logan at 5, and we may be moving to a game 3 here. Logan's not even going to take the next draw step.
Nope. It's very unrealistic that Chris does not present lethal next turn. And looks like Logan's re-examining his sideboard choices here. Perhaps he likes a different strategy, play draw. Not uncommon.
Yeah, well, what do you think he would switch up then if he's going for something different on the play? We look at his sideboard here.
Well, we didn't see a whole lot of what he actually drew that game. I can't imagine that if he liked Treasure Cruise on the draw that he doesn't like it on the play.
Yeah, I mean, some of that was because he was double duressed. You know, he did have, I think in his opener, if you think about what he had there, he had 4 lands, Treasure Cruise, Surge of Righteousness, Oath of Nissa. That seems actually pretty good. Or rather, it was 3 lands. He was on a mulligan. You know, you have early setup, you have an early kill spell, and then you have a card draw. It seems like something you'd keep. The duresses just did a ton of damage, though.
So given the pace of game 1, where on the draw the Nissa and the Gideon weren't good enough, where it seemed like it would have been a runaway the entire game on the play, maybe Logan likes a Ration Cleric on the draw, but not on the play.
Okay, so he may have to choose whether he's the aggressor or behind, but depending on whether he's on the play or not.
And in fact, a Ration Cleric doesn't necessarily match up very well against everything that Chris is doing.
Not particularly.
Gaining 3 life even against Flamewake Phoenix is kind of medium.
Yeah, it doesn't attack at all. And it blocks Hordeling Outburst tokens, and it bounces off of a Pia and Kieran Nalaar, but that's about it. Most of Chris's attackers are in the air. That's not going to hurt. This is interesting. I expected Logan to be the aggressor in this matchup, but it really isn't playing out that way. Both times we've seen, I feel like Chris is under pressure to win quickly because if this game goes long, it's going to go in Logan's favor. His plays are more powerful.
Yeah, I think that's exactly Chris's thoughts as well, and it certainly worked out in that game. Another card that Logan could be thinking about on the play is Dragon Lord Ojutai. That's quite powerful if you play at turn 5 on the play.
It is good on the play here. Now, especially because Chris normally has cards like Flame Tongue and Fire, or rather has stuff like Foul Tongue Invocation, perhaps, or ways to deal with it, sacrifice effects. I wouldn't expect any of those to be in the deck anymore.
No, Foul Tongue is not great against a deck that's generating 0/1 plant tokens.
You know, if you expect Chris to be down on removal, yeah, Ojutai could, can do that bait and switch that you're talking about.
Definitely. It also could be that maybe he had Hollowed Moonlight in his deck and realized that's not really going to do very much. Yeah, sometimes I certainly do that myself. I bring in a card, and after game 2, I think, that was just wrong. What am I doing with my life?
And Moonlight would be interesting here. It does get some of Chris's tokens cards, but that's about it. You can get a Flamewake Phoenix with it, I suppose.
Yeah, I think we're pretty far gone if that's our plan, though. About 23 minutes left on the clock. It should be more than sufficient.
Yeah, 23 should be fine for the remainder of the match. A lot of time, I think the decks in the format that really care about this are the Jeskai Blacks, the 5-color Bring to Lights. Those ones certainly can struggle with the clock.
Yeah, Rally struggles a bit as well sometimes. I've never met a red-black deck that consistently goes to time.
All right, Logan on the play this time. He'll get to resolve Oath of Nissa. That'll sneak in under dress. We see a trio of lands for him.
But which is the best land?
Well, we'll see what he sets up with. Looks like he has another Forest and a Flooded Strand in hand.
Yeah, I think you pretty much just take a fetch land over non-fetch lands almost every time.
In a 3-color deck, that seems strong.
With Treasure Cruise as well.
Land from Chris. Now, this is the play once again you're talking about. He does have a Duress. Now, I don't think he had untapped black on turn 1. But it's going to be a Hangerback Walker on 2 for Logan.
Yeah, and starting on the turn 2 here, casting Duress, pretty great. You don't want this Hangerback Walker to curve into a Nissa. Putting +1/+1 counters on that card.
Oh, wow.
Pretty powerful.
Oh, wow.
Putting +1/+1 counters on the tokens it generates.
Awesome.
Pretty powerful.
Oh, goodness. And that's an excellent interaction. Yeah, Nissa does do 1/1 counters. So we'll see. Yeah, Chris may want to get that discard in while he has the chance. He's going to go with Transgress the Mind here. So we'll see. It is 4 lands and a Wingmate Rock for Logan. So that one's an easy choice.
Yeah, that was a pretty powerful play. Logan definitely wasn't happy to be looking at those 3 lands on the Oath either.
Yeah, he was counting on the Oath to hit some more action for him. He does get some virtual card advantage here in that the Duress is unlikely to find anything to hit.
Except for this Silk Wrap he just drew.
Did just draw one there. So, land and a pass. He's going to go ahead and start cranking up the Hangerback Walker.
Yeah, and I probably would have just done that on my turn. There's just nothing that you're really representing, right?
Yeah, there aren't many haste ground pounders from Chris's deck. Chris goes ahead and attacks. Caleb down to 18. Now, Logan down to 18. Down to 17 on the fetch, and we'll get Hangerback onto 2.
Barring drawing something like a Gideon or a Nissa or a Retreat to Emiria, we're probably going to see a Silk Wrap next turn out of Logan. Get it while it's good.
Well, there's not much else to Silk Wrap in the deck.
No.
Right?
And definitely not much else to do with Logan's hand.
Hangerback up to a 2/2. Draw was another fetch land for Logan.
That's gross.
Well, when he draws the Treasure Cruise, he'll be in business.
When he draws the Treasure Cruise, and also he's got a lot of gas for Retreat to Emiria, which is another way to think about it. Gotta find it.
So he leaves the fetch lands uncracked so that if he finds a Retreat to Emiria that they're good. But then he also needs to crack them to possibly delve a Treasure Cruise.
Yeah. And also, when you have a bunch of fetch lands, cracking them even to thin your deck out, it's a marginal percentage, but when your hand's all lands, you take what you can get.
So right now, Logan's safe on the board. 2/2 Hangerback Walker in play. But Chris ready to unload here. He's going to start with Thunderbreak Regent.
That's looking pretty good here.
Well, Logan's deck doesn't have that many kill spells in it. So if Chris curves out, he can end the game very quickly. You do spy there are Hallowed Moonlights in Logan's deck right now.
Okay.
They have come in.
Not in love with that sideboarding choice. It's fine against Pia and Kieran, but I suppose he doesn't know that Chris plays more dragons than Pia's.
Hits Hordling Outburst, Pia and Kieran. Hangerback. Yeah, it's not much.
Surge of Righteousness is a fine draw here. At least deals with what's on the table. Question is whether Logan starts attacking. Probably not just yet.
Well, at some point, this Hangerback Walker that's been growing on Logan's side is going to become a problem for Chris. Now, I do want to point out on that last turn, I don't like that Logan didn't pump up that Hangerback Walker. Chris does have a Draconic Roar.
Yeah.
A great duress from Chris, though. He takes care of Surge of Righteousness before attacking.
Yep, another back-breaking discard spell. And it looks like he's got Logan in his hand, too. Logan's going to have to find something pretty impressive here.
Swing from Regent. Here's a copy of Hordling Outburst.
Here's another great synergy. Any creatures at all, and Logan, the Storm's Fury.
Yeah, he already has that one ready for next turn. Logan down to 11. Chris looking to complete the comeback. Aggroed Logan out in game 2. Looks like on the back of discard, he's going to be able to do it again game 3 here.
Those duresses and that Transgress the Mind, they did work here. No question about that.
Hangerback, though, he makes his way up to 4.
There's another Hangerback Walker.
Well, these Hangerbacks, I don't think the Chris will be able to kill them. But at the same time, we talked about how Red-Black Dragons doesn't really attack on the ground.
Yeah, and with that Logan, Logan is
I
dead
think
in
he
the
may be
just
dead next turn. Yeah. Kolaghan has the ability that it's 4/5 haste, or 4/5 that you can dash. When it attacks, all your creatures get +1/+0.
Okay,
so it's 9 in the air.
I didn't remember if it pumped itself. It does, but that also is irrelevant because there's only 2 ground blockers.
Well, it's not just when he attacks, it's when a dragon you control attacks. So because he has it and Thunderbreak, they all get +2/+0.
So this is just covered every way possible. Logan is just dead.
Right, you normally think about this card saying, hey, it's +1/+0, right? Just +1/+0 is your team. But no. It's when it's all your dragons. So if you play many dragons, then this gets real fun.
Fun. That's an appropriate term.
It is. Yeah, he's looking at 13 or 12 in the air. That should do it. Logan's draw was Hangerback. He's going to go ahead and play it on 2 here.
Logan's leaving up some mana. This would be a great spot if he had the Disdainful Stroke, but Chris does not care.
Dashed Kolaghan. And that will be the match. So Chris Andersen, 2-1, takes the comeback, aggroing out both sideboard games, and he improves to 2-0 with Red-Black Dragons.
Yeah, that was a little surprising. I do feel like the Bant Token stack might be favored overall, but Chris's sideboard cards really shined there.
Yeah, well, one thing we always see about these green decks, that, these slow but inevitable green decks on the ground, is that they tend to be weak in the air. We see that with ramp decks that really can struggle with flyers. Last season we saw it with Devotion. This felt like the same thing, where Logan was building up a shop, trying to get things going, but Chris just has too much damage in the air too quickly, and that's what got the second game for him.
Yeah, and getting as flooded as he did certainly didn't help either.
Yeah, no real plays there for Hangerback Walker. It was just, you never felt like he had much of an impact.
Yeah, Hangerback Walker is quite the powerful card, but it is not known for its ability to win games on its own.